Hello, today for review I've got an affordable model, so as you can see, not always I'm reviewing something with few $1,000 price tag. Today we'll talk about the Whizzer BS1. As you can see, even on the polygraphy, it's a single dynamic driver model with a 13.6mm driver, which is pretty big. Packed in an interesting shell and priced at $35 level. It's not super affordable, but still on the cheaper side of things, so it definitely belongs to the budget segment. But taking into account my previous experience with Whizzer creations, I have a really high hopes for this model because they definitely can tune things pretty nicely, so let's have a closer look. Package is simple, but definitely not cheap. It's not traditional, like not that matchbox-like box. It's compact, but pretty stylish. You can see that they've spent some time designing it. In terms of specifications, 18 ohms of impedance, 109 decibels of sensitivity, and pretty good figures actually for the model created for the portable usage with smartphones and stuff. And inside of the box here are earpieces themselves. Let's take them out. And underneath there is a hard to pull out box with accessories. I don't want to tear it apart as usual, so here it is. Let's see what we are getting here. So, storage pouch, some manual, not that interesting, and actually not even one set of tips. Short clip and two bags with tips. I don't like this sticky bags because they are so easy to damage unpacking, but let's see. Regular gray silicone tips, and in the second bag tips with slightly different shape and bigger bores. And if you hear background noise, it's my cat decided to fight his scratch post. As you can see, accessory set is pretty good for this price tire, surprisingly better than for vast majority of earphones in this segment. In terms of design, it's slightly retro styled. Such shape of shells was popular like 5 years ago or so, but actually it's pretty convenient and does its job really well. Despite of using big drivers, they fitting nicely even into small ears. They have a proper angle of spouts and providing about average sound isolation. As you can see, there is an semi-open grille on the back side and openings on the inner side, so a lot of vent holes to create more spacious and more refined sound. There is a lip for holding the tips and protective grille, of course. And they decided to make cable non-replaceable, and actually I'm not sure is it a pro or con, because from one hand it's good to have an opportunity to swap the cable when something is happened with it, but from another hand, common point of failure in the affordable and expensive models, it's actually a connector, and when something happens with connector, you can just throw them away. So instead they decided to use a sturdy and reliable cable with fabric coating, so it looks pretty durable, so probably it will serve for a really long time. There is a strain reliefs to protect the cable from breaking, and actually its cable itself looks nice and it's average in terms of softness. There is a slight microphonic effect, but with a short clip you can minimize it. And here is splitter. After splitter it goes down to the regular straight jack. So no fancy shells with transparent outlook and no replaceable cable, but overall build quality is pretty nice. And of course about the sound, I gave them about 32 hours of burn-in and there were noticeable changes in sound during first 10 hours or so. Mids and treble became more forward and improved their resolution. So if you get them, slight burn-in will be required. Of course tips also changing sound, and you'll need to find the tips that will give a proper seal, otherwise you'll get worse sound. As a player, for example, I will use few M11 because I have my on-the-go tracks collection loaded here. In terms of tuning, it's a typical warmer tuning, but thanks to the semi-open design, it has a more spacious stage, so it sounds more refined comparing with traditional warm earphones of this segment. Low frequencies are accented. It's not huge accent, but it's noticeable, and this accent is done not only by quantity but also by additional weight. Resolution is normal, but of course non-stellar. Depth is okay, but also not the maximum depth. But 13.6mm dynamic drivers still manage, of course, to deliver enough of weight and punch. It's suiting more, of course, genres like pop music or something like that, but with natural instruments it also sounds pretty pleasant. Of course, comparing with more expensive models, it lacks refinement and slight of clarity, but here it's done intentionally to produce more weight. And as an example, I've got Gunpowder Chant by Diablo Swing Orchestra with that signature didgeridoo in the introduction. It requires nice bass performance, and these earphones play it pretty okay. Not superb, but for this price tire, pretty good. Mid frequencies are also on the warmer side of things. Resolution is normal, but also not focused on the maximum micro detalization, not trying to deliver maximum amount of details, but at the same time sounds pretty emotional with good dynamics and proper weight, and they are pretty forgiving for the quality of records. Imaginary stage is noticeably above average, what surprised me most of all. It's not typical for the warmer earphones. Maybe it's because of that design. But in general, it's common sound of mid frequencies. It's definitely not the balanced armatures. It's tuning for those who prefer more warmer representation with additional weight. And as an example here, I've got Måneskin in Nome del Padre. I like this track, and I actually like all their tracks, almost all. And it has forward drums with pretty aggressive kicks, and this earphones delivers it nicely, but at the same time vocals sound slightly veiled, but not too much, and the guitar sounds pretty fun with these earphones. In terms of treble performance, they are also on the softer side of things. Treble is present, and it's, of course, don't expect some rich layering or superb overtone saturation, but at the same time it's not sharp, not too fatiguing for those who like not forward treble. Basic overtones are present and sounds pretty natural with proper attacks and decays and okay resolution. And as an example for the treble, I've got Rush, Heresy. Actually, the start of this track surprised me a little bit with that openness and spaciousness of these earphones. I didn't understood that actually this track started. I thought that it's something going on outside of headphones. So nice in terms of staging and positioning. But of course, typically for Rush, in this track there are a lot of percussions, cymbals, and so on. And these earphones played okay for this price. We're not comparing it with something more expensive, but for this price is okay if you don't like super forward treble. And in terms of pairing, it's good with the smartphone, good with tablets, so they don't require some expensive sources or something like that. And speaking about the comparisons, probably closest competitor is Blonde BL03. This model is slightly less warm with better staging and slightly less bloated comparing with Blondes. But all other models that I can recall right now, like Tripovin TC01 for example, they are more natural and sound noticeably different. So to summarize everything, Whizzer created model for non-audiophiles, for those who like warm sound, but at the same time likes bigger stage and slightly unusual representations that it's caused. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.